Man, are there stuff going on, popping all over the place on there? The 15's plugged up. There was a shooter up there right at State Line at Nipton Road. People have been there almost a day now. Some people have turned around and gone home, but the trucks and stuff can't turn around. Uh, Good old Trump's been on. He's in Toledo, Ohio. Man, he had the money quote on that. We'll deal with that later on in the stuff. Just filling in, we're going to have Eddie George from Hemet Eye News. We're dealing with some of the stuff going on in Hemet. We'll have Jason Hunter on to do a update on the shenanigans going down in Riverside, which is really going to be Riverside, Moreno Valley, and Corona. Another new tax proposal coming on the horizon. For all you that just love to pay more taxes, guess what? If trends happen, you're going to get to pay more, because the ding-dongs around here will probably jack up our taxes again because, well, it's all for the big kids now. I guess children go to like 37 years old now or something. I mean, used to be like 18 and you were booted out of the house of that, but that's part of the new genre coming up. This Oakland homeless deal coming up is just absolutely incredulous. Looks like the reports are that the Iranian plane that was done, the Ukrainian plane that was shot down in Iranian appears from all indications in U.S. intelligence came out and said, yeah, it looks like there was a bomb going off, and then poof, the plane goes. So it looks like an Iranian missile shot down the Ukrainian plane. Whether that was intentional or it was just a bomb that went off when they were trying to run their little fake attack, we'll probably figure all that out in the rescinding stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of good, and of course we're gonna do our good guys with guns as we're on.
The Toyota San Bernardino Recording Studio presents IE Newswire Daily with Roy Blecker. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Yes, we are, as I explained to our YouTube visitors and watchers, as I just said on that. And we are hooked up on Facebook Live coming up pretty soon. We're going to be on KMET 1490 radio soon here, too. Man, the news is just popping all over the place today. Couple things that we're going to be talking about: the 15 freeway at State Line, Nipton Road, the state line of California and Nevada. There was a shooting up there. People have been stranded up there for 24 hours. I don't even know if today yet they've even got it opened up, but we'll see. Like you see, some poor folks have been stuck on there. If you're headed to Vegas, you better do planes. Take the old back roads up through there or something, because you're not getting through on the 15. On top of that, the Fast and Furious was a bad deal that went on where Obama administration was selling guns to the Mexican nationals that wound up killing a Border Patrol agent. There's been an update to that story, too, coming on the pike. We'll cover that. Good guys with guns, we'll have that. We're going to run everything every day on that. We're going to show you the proper use of firearms and why, in case, and you never know when it's going to come, but when you need it, if you don't have one, you may be in a heap of trouble. We're going to have Jason Hunter coming on later on in the show, coming up, give us an update on the proposed tax that's going to be probably passed in Riverside, Moreno Valley, and Corona. We'll tell you about that. The Trump rally. Trump had the money quote on Nancy. It was we'll sneak that one in there too, man. That guy cracks me up. We're gonna have Eddie George on here in a little bit. Talk about the Hemet apartment fire and the flash mob that invaded an AM/PM in Hemet, and all the good news on that. But I want to cover first, before we get Eddie on, and we've covered the whole homeless deal and stuff, and private property rights and all this other stuff. I mean, there's an absolutely ridiculous situation going up in Oakland. Some people just arbitrarily decided they were going to occupy an Oakland home. They said it's their right. It's a vacant Oakland home. Oakland home. Maybe they refurbished a company that owns it was refurbishing it or something or other. So they just decided, oh, it's our right to go in there and do that. They got the utilities turned on. Everything. I wonder where they got the money to do that. There were 2 women homeless are up there on that. There's this, and this will probably, our frequent callers, Pop and Dwayne, this will drive them crazy. Seems like they're part of a organization that is an offshoot of ACORN, which is the old Association of Community Organizations for Reform Now, which has roots back to Little Rock, Arkansas in the 70s. Wade Rathke and some just on-the-scene politicians that nobody had really heard of at the time called Bill and Hillary Clinton. And now we're doing that. But if you have clip number 2, video number 2 up to play with that, the CBS San Francisco report on this coming up. So tell me when you got the video queued up and ready to go on that. This will give us a little preliminary of what is going on up in San Francisco. Here we go.
Have been given another 4 days to make their case. The Moms for Housing have been living in a home on Magnolia Street since they illegally entered it on November 18th. They're now demanding that Wedgwood, that's the real estate firm that owns the house, negotiate the sale of the property through the Community Oakland Land Trust. A judge has tentatively ruled in favor of eviction, but has delayed a final decision this morning. Outside of the courthouse, both sides dug in.
The responsibility of Wedgwood is to negotiate with these moms. They have offered to buy this home.
There's no right way to do a wrong thing. What these people are doing is a wrong thing. They're bullies and they're thieves.
The case now goes back to its original hearing date of December.
Okay, that last guy was Sam Singer. He's a spokesman for Wedgwood, the owner of the home. And I heard him earlier today, and he's the one that said this Moms for Housing deal is an offshoot of ACORN that we just mentioned. You know, ACORN got in trouble again, the Obama administration in 2008. I think it was James O'Keefe and Project Veritas got him for doing a bunch of, or allegedly, or maybe doing a bunch of illegal stuff on that. You want to know why public employee unions have gotten powerful? Man, that's a whole story we'll get into another day. But do you have private property rights anymore? Now we have the right to housing. Somebody else can come in, occupy your home, and you can't say a darn thing about it. That's what the whole new mantra is. We might as well forget. We might as well spit on the grave of every military person that has fought and bled and died for this country to give you the freedom to have private property rights and determine what you have. Because if somebody can just move into your home, you might think, well, this is Wedgwood, a big company, they're evil, yada, yada, yada. You know what the next step is going to be? You, if you let this stuff go. What's to stop? Well, you're going on vacation for 3 weeks. Why don't you let these people run your house? We're going to take it over and let them live in it while you're gone. You know, that's the definition of vacant house when you leave. That is, it just that you're not living there. That means you're not in it. You're not occupying it. So if you go on vacation or something, this is absolutely stupid. And you've got this dingbat, and I mean dingbat or senator, if I can find the one. Oh, yes. Assemblywoman from Berkeley that's coming up there and saying, same thing. We're shouting that this is your right to do this. So, I mean, it's absolutely incredulous of what's going on in this whole thing. Again, it drives me absolutely freaking insane on this stuff. I mean, we might as well pack it in. If this is what we're going to, and I'm curious to see how the courts are going to rule, because Wedgwood said, we're putting the eviction notices in there. We didn't, first thing, they're not paying us anything. We didn't allow them to come in there. It's our property. We didn't allow them in there. They just come on and established that they are taking over our property. I mean, how long are we going to stand for this stuff? I mean, like I said, every service member that fought and bled and died for this country, to give you the right to have that freedom, to have you the private property rights. That's one of the things the founders of that this country did when they wrote the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. They understood what makes you a free person of free will is one of the fundamental rights is having private property rights. If you buy something, if you acquire it, you own it, you get to determine what it is. I want to see the person that supports this stuff that's going to let me come into their home and tell them, you know what? Change the channel. I want to watch the football game. Go get me a beer. Why don't you clean this place up a little? Maybe we should repaint the I don't like those blinds up there. Maybe we'll take them up and put drapes on. This carpeting sucks. I want a hardwood floor. I want hardwood floors. I'm going to boss you around your house and see what happens. You're going to be showing me the door after the first line of that. And rightfully so. It's your home, your property. You paid for it. You own it. You get to determine how it's used. And if we break this down, we are absolutely, we're doomed. I mean, you want to talk, that isn't even socialism. That's communism. That somebody can just come in and arbitrarily take your property with no compensation whatsoever. What if they decide to build a new freeway or a new condominium project on your home? Just decide, okay, we're going to level your home and we're not going to give you anything for it. That's why we do have eminent domain, and they put it in the Constitution. So if there is a public need that serves a greater good, they can take your property, but they have to compensate you for it. They have to make you what they call whole. If it costs you $300,000, $500,000, or whatever to buy another home and move, they only have to pay you the expenses of the new property, equivalent property you have to buy, but any moving expenses and on and on and on. So that's what fairness and is all about. Fairness is not saying, well, I just decided I'm going to move into your home. I'm going to drive your car. Well, you're not using your car today. Why don't we just eliminate Uber and Lyft and everything else? If I decide I need to go somewhere and you're not using your car today, well, I just roll over there and take it. I'm going to drive to LA or San Francisco today because you're not going to be using your car. I mean, this is how nutty we're getting. We're getting absolutely, it's driving me completely insane on this whole enchilada. And I don't know. Sometimes I think my head is going to explode with all the insanity that's going on. I mean, we get this assemblywoman up there that's saying, oh, yes, everybody has a right to housing. They're supporting this. I mean, for crying out loud, people, when are you going to wake up? The majority of you, a super majority of you, keep electing these ding-dongs all across the board to deal with this stuff. And we're going absolutely downhill. We cannot take it anymore. If you want to have any sort of future in this country, if you want to have any sort of self-determination on this stuff, you better start acting now on this and paying attention. It's getting down to a critical mass situation on this stuff because, it's absolutely incredulous. We are going to cover, as I said, we're going to cover one of the local topics because I said on this show, you're going to get the local news and you're going to get the coverage like nobody else's business on this stuff. It's been happening far too long in this area. I've seen, and I and a few others, like our next guest coming up, Eddie George of Hemet Eye News, have taken it upon ourselves to say, the heck with these other people that won't tell you what's going on or dig and find out what the real truth is on this. We had a very tragic situation with the apartment fire in Hemet here about a week or so ago. And, father and I think 2 or 3 of the kids lost their lives. Mother and one of the kids survived. It was a very tragic situation. The community just rallied behind it, got fundraisers, and tried to help the surviving members as best they can. But there's been a lot of rumor, innuendo, just plain BS going on about this whole situation. So my man Eddie George in Hemet has got an update on this, and he got right down, I think, to the quick of the situation to figure out what was the facts and what was the non-facts going on. So Eddie George, Hemet Eye News, welcome to the show.
Hey, good evening, Roy. How you doing today?
I'm absolutely fantastic. Give us a quick synopsis of the in about a couple minutes of what happened in Hemet and kind of where it took you in the last week or so, all the stuff that's been going on.
Well, like I call it, it was the drama in the Alessandro Flames. It was a big tragedy that we had out here in the town. We had about I think it was 3 lives was lost. And of course, accusations always, wants to run a flow real quick. People wants to point fingers and make their decision on what actually happened. And it was a Christmas tree fire. Everybody started pointing fingers.
Can you are you on a speaker, Eddie? Are you on a speakerphone?
How's that?
Yeah, because you're kind of fading out on her. Get closer to the phone because you're kind of fading
out. All right, there we go.
There you go. That's better.
But it was people wanted to start pointing fingers, and somebody came forward and actually told us that it was actually the mother set fire, and made all kind of accusations that he's seen it and he witnessed it. So we had him come forward, talk to the police. I interviewed the guy, and he turned around, and the police called him in and interviewed him, and come to find the conclusion that the guy could not keep his story straight. He even had to make cue cards to try to keep the story straight. And of course, they found out that he lied. And the proof, the evidence that the fire department had showed that his story was nothing but a story, and the guy ended up going to jail. A police report. So, I just want to emphasize to the public, when something like this happens, always tell the truth, because it wastes a lot of resources, time, it wastes a lot of our time, the fire department's time, the police department's time. And the fire actually came out it was a Christmas tree fire. The fire department did a full investigation on it, came back 4 different phase tests that they did, showed that it was an electrical issue, and even if the mother wanted to set this fire, which we proved real quick, nipped it in the butt, that it was not that, there's no way of what caused this fire she could have faked it.
Yeah, it's at an Eddie. I'm gonna have my producer call you back. Maybe we just got a bad line because you're kind of breaking up. So hang up and we'll call you back, and I'll kind of vamp here on a little bit on that. So yes, this is part of the good and bad part of the internet and the social media stuff. It's great for guys like me and Eddie. And others that are actually giving you the news or finding out what's going on. But the bad part is it starts a lot of these rumors and stuff, or people get on there and make these accusations and stuff, and it gets all over the net, back and forth on the deal, and people go, and it creates this chaos of what's going on and stuff. So what we're trying to point out here is on that is when you're on these social media networks or something, or you're doing something, please be responsible. And if you didn't see something, or don't go out there making stuff up, because you're going to get called out, and you could possibly be getting into trouble, especially like in a deal like this, because it's absolutely nuts that a tragic situation like that, and then somebody gets on the net and goes across and does all that and creates all this, and then now everybody has to go all on that. Daddy, do we have you back?
All right. Can you hear me
Yes,
now?
yeah, that's much better, at least from that standpoint. I just kind of, like we talked about earlier about the good and the bad aspects of the social media network, like sites like you run Hemet Eye News, I run IE Newswire, and we're doing here on the radio and stuff on KMET 1490. It's some of the stuff that goes on, but I pointed out some of the good and bad aspects of it. And, as you've done a lot of times about this stuff, and you went through it, I went through it, we plead with people, don't come on here making stuff up. Not only is it just creates the chaos, but you yourself might be getting into trouble over this stuff if you pursue this stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and I agree with you, Roy. And the police department wanted me to stress to the public, when I talked to the sergeant there at the police station here in Hemet, if you know something, something ever, comes forward, we do ask that you do come forward and tell the truth, because like I told this guy, you could have put a innocent person in prison for the rest of their life because why you decided you wanted to lie. And you wanted heroism, and it's not about all that. It's let's get out, tell the truth of what happened. Like I was saying earlier before we got disconnected. The police department, and the fire department, they did a 4-phase investigation on this fire, and they come back 100% that it was an electrical issue. There's no way that if somebody did want to set the fire, that they would have been able to use that method. To actually make it look like a fire. So, I do want to commend our local fire department, Scott Brown, who was the chief, our Hemet Police Department. They did a very thorough job investigation on this fire. It left so many people displaced. We had like over 25 families displaced in this fire and 3 fatalities. And it was one of the biggest local tragics that we had in our local town, this year. And it's just, my hearts go out to the family and also, to the people that we actually lost their homes and are not actually able to return back to their homes. They were given notice that they can come in, retrieve whatever they can salvage. They will be getting their deposits back, and they have to look for other lodging. So, we do ask the public, if you want to help with the fire victims, we do ask that we do not need clothes. We do not need toys. Right now, we're needing gift cards for local restaurants where these victims are able to go out and get something to eat. And we're also asking for cash donations to be made to the Salvation Army where they can help, with motel vouchers and try to find these people with lodging. And if anybody out there that has any rental lodging properties or anything that they can help assist to be able to give lodging to these people, we definitely ask, to come forward to the community of the Salvation Army and, lead them in your direction.
Exactly, and I mean it's been very impressive at the community of Hemet, which takes a lot of brickbats for a lot of reasons, and sometimes even some of them a little bit deserved. But it's been a great testament to the community of Hemet that's come out and supported the victims of this very tragic fire that happened in Hemet.
Oh, well, definitely. I definitely want to give a shout out to our community of Hemet. This town, people always say we got a crazy town out here, but you know what? This town's got a heart, and I got to admit this town was very great. That how they came forward and stepped up. Our local restaurant stepped up, and they fed these fire victims. Donations poured in. People, clothes poured in. I mean, it's phenomenal on how great this community stepped up and helped each other. And that's one thing I can say about Hemet. We got great people in our town.
Yes, there's great people all over the Inland Empire in California that doing that, and somehow, and we kind of talked about a little bit with the cops and everything and cooperating, but somehow we've got to empower the good people that are around, the people that are coming out to support this and stuff, because I think a lot of times they've been afraid a lot of this because of the social media stuff or stuff. They're afraid because if they say something or do something, we're so quick to label people racist or this or that or like this, or you might falsely get accused of something, and then you got to try and defend yourself. And even after the fact, how do you get your reputation back? But I'm hoping things like this will empower this, because we talked a little bit about it earlier today. Even some of the law enforcement agencies and police departments say, well, why are you covering this stuff, or why you want to do this? And just like you said, hey, I'm getting these reports on here that you were trying to find out the truth in this. Is this guy's story correct? Did law enforcement or the fire department mess up on this deal or that? Well, it finds out that law enforcement, fire department did everything A1 100%, and now it's being shown to the public through your venue and others like this that, yeah, this is exactly what happened, so people can make judgments instead of thinking that or the rumors starting, because, like the old saying, perception is reality. And if the police departments, I found, and fire departments and stuff, politicos, let that stuff linger out there or don't counteract it, then, whatever, you'd like the old saying, if you tell a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. And I think that's the importance, and I think they're starting to realize that a lot, and they're cooperating with news outlets more like you and me to get this information out, because I think we'll all be better off in the end if we do that.
And that's right, Roy. I agree with you 100%. And like I say, I got to commend our fire department and our police department for, when we brought this information to them, they jumped on it, Johnny, on the spot, and they interrogated it. They checked out the information, and they nipped it in the butt real quick. So, I got to give a shout out to Sergeant Gomez over there at HPD. He didn't waste no time, proving, the faults on this. So, definitely a great job with HPD,
Yes, they do, and like I say, I'm hoping that this this relationship with that and that with all these media outlets that is that we do get this stuff out and we do get the truth out on all of this stuff, because I think it's going to benefit us all, and maybe it will give us some more empowerment on that. I want to shift gears a little bit in the time we got left. There's a whole thing about the flash mob that invaded a Hemet AM/PM
oh my God, yeah.
deal on that. If we got the Tony Shin video from NBC Los Angeles ready, Jesse, let that rip on that, because you're not going to believe this one, what was going on. And we may have we may have some updates on this in the future, but I want everybody to see, some of the things that are going on in our community and stuff. So Jesse, cue me up when you got that video ready to go. Here we go. You're not going to believe this. Flash robbery, the AM/PM in Hemet.
Many of them stealing items worth hundreds of dollars.
NBC4's Tony Shin live in Hemet right now with more on this exclusive video and the story here. Tony?
Yeah, Chuck and Colleen, this all happened at this AM/PM that you see behind me, and I want you to notice something. There are surveillance cameras everywhere. Right now, investigators are looking closely at the video, hoping to identify the people who grabbed what they wanted and left without paying. It's just before 10 Sunday night, and a large crowd of people are entering the AM/PM on Stetson Avenue in Hemet. Following them is a man carrying a camera that he is later seen using to record what happens. Some of the people are captured on video harmlessly dancing and talking. Police say they are possibly decoys for the other people in the group, who are seen grabbing items off the shelves and leaving without paying. Take a closer look at this man, who is seen pulling a bag out of his pants and then replacing it with a different item before grabbing a Gatorade and walking out.
I was first shocked because the audacity of them just walking in and doing like there is no laws, nothing bothers them.
Store General Manager Sam Haddadin calls it a flash mob theft. He says during the chaos, his workers were afraid the crowd might turn violent.
And when we hire a good employee and something like this happened, they just don't want to come back and work.
The group included men, women, and even a child. Some of them were also seen in the back office going through drawers and trying to get into the safe, but it was locked. After about 2 minutes, everyone walks out.
They might think it's cool, they might think it's funny, but it's not.
Sam believes about $500 worth of goods were stolen, much of it beef jerky, which can cost about $20 a bag. He has this message for the flash mob.
Eddie, can you believe something like that can happen? That's happening in our communities.
Yes, I do. Like I say, it's tragic. I feel sorry for the store owner, but, I don't feel sorry for the people because due to the fact, if you watch that video very closely, we actually had one of our Hemet Eye News followers actually went through that video and it screenshotted. If you notice that guy that walked through the front door, the one that had the camera in his hand, he kind of didn't think before he'd done this action and is wearing something that gave him a dead away on who they were. And it's actually a group that runs a music studio out here. I won't mention the name, but they actually were shooting a music video. And this is going to be one of their caretakes that they're going to put out on their social media. So, they're being stupid. They basically told the police who they are. And all these screenshots were given to the local PD, and investigators are actually on top of it as we speak as of today. So I'm pretty sure I can lay this arrest that HPD will be having arrests very soon. So.
Wow, and that's why you see that's one of the great aspects of the social media network of this getting out there and people actually looking at it and stuff, and they're reporting in, hey, we noticed this. Hey, you got to go check it out. You guys got a hold of the cops and said, hey, look at this. We maybe something going on. So that's part of the good aspects. We're going to emphasize the good aspects of this in the future, and hopefully we can stomp out all these yo-hos that are. It's always that little percentage that seems to ruin everything for everybody else. But
it does, Roy, it does.
You got it, and we're going to figure that stuff out. We're going to have you on. I'd like to have you on at least once a week here coming up in 2020, coming on just to give us an update of what's going on in Hemet, because, like you say, there's a lot of stuff popping in Hemet, but there's a lot of good things. Not only Hemet, Riverside, Moreno Valley, all across the Inland Empire, even San Bernardino, that are going on. We want to talk about that stuff, too, just like we did today. So thanks a lot for being on today, Eddie. We really appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem, Roy. And like I say, talking about the Alessandro fire, I know we just covered just a little bit of detail on that because I know you're running out of time. But if people want more full detail on that story, they can go to our YouTube channel under Hemet Eye News under YouTube. And there is a video there that we put out with all full details on the happening of it. And it's called Drama in the Alessandro Flames. So make sure you do go check out that video. And full details on that and how you can help out is in that video.
Yes, I do. Yeah, that's and I highly recommend it. I've watched that too, and it's absolutely great. If you want to know the real facts of what's going on, watch Eddie's video on YouTube channel on Hemet Eye News, and check out his great site on Facebook, Hemet Eye News. Also, that's the big powerhouse group in Hemet. Eddie, again, thanks for being on.
You're welcome, Roy. You have a blessed day. It's Crazy Guy with Lazy Eye with Hemet Eye News.
You got it. It's the same to you. Have a great day, Eddie. Yeah, that was it. Man, that, like I say, you're not getting all this inside information anywhere else, but on outlets like Eddie and Lori's Hemet Eye News, or on this show, IE Newswire, or KMET 1490 AM with the Inland Empire Newswire Daily. Just know, it's something that's been lacking in this area a lot, coverage like this, in-depth. Let's cut to the chase. Let's find out what the facts are, and then you can make an informed judgment on what's going on. Not the internet rumor mill or somebody thinking they're going to become famous or something and start this story and all this stuff that creates a lot of angst in our communities that is unnecessary. So we got
Hey, Sean.
We got
30 seconds.
We got a lot of stuff to do. We'll be joining KMET 1490 here in about 30 seconds coming up. So and we're going to have Jason Hunter up coming on. We're going to talk about a few more of these other stories and Trump's little quote on his rally in Toledo, which is absolutely fabulous on the whole agenda on that. There's nothing like old Donald J. Trump, I'll tell you. That guy he's something else. Like I said,
all right, guys, here we go. 66324. IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
The Toyota San Bernardino Recording Studio presents IE Newswire Daily with Roy Blecker. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Yes, we are. We're coming back on AM 1490. That we're on there on IE Newswire Daily every 5:30 to 6 Monday through Friday. Mandatory, you got that. We just covered, and those of you who were watching on YouTube, IE Newswire Daily on the deal. You heard, you heard first of the whole rendition of Oakland and, those homeless people that are just occupying the place and just walked into a vacant house, said it's ours. That's another incredulous situation. We had the great Eddie George on from Hemet Eye News they're covering giving us the latest update on the Hemet apartment fire, which was absolutely, cutting through the chase and getting the real facts, and plus the flash mob deal where it seems like a whole bunch of people walked into AM/PM, just decided that we're going to take whatever we want. According to the KMBC Channel 4 Tony Shin report, which he's a great guy too. I like Tony. That about $500 worth of merchandise was taken out of the store, but we had some breaking news on that. And Eddie and his crew of warriors and readers maybe had some clues into that they got to the Hemet PD, which was absolutely fabulous, going on up and down the road. We're going to have Jason Hunter on here in a little while. He's going to talk about a new tax that's probably coming to Riverside, Moreno Valley, and Corona. Unless y'all, as old Hillbilly Roy would say, unless y'all pay attention here coming in March. This is why the March primary is going to be, I think it's in March, maybe it's in November. I'll ask Jason. Whenever it is, there's a new tax going to be coming across the board, going to be voted on that. And are you going to get suckered into another deal? Empower these guys, these politicians that are saying, oh, like the dingbat Berkeley state senator that's defending this stuff, saying, yes, you have a right to walk into somebody else's home and just take it over. Don't pay them, nothing. How would you like that to happen to you? Like I said, well, let's even break it down. Well, you're not using your car today. Well, Roy decides I ain't got a ride, or you got a nicer car than me. Well, I'm going to take your car, and you're not using it. Why should you have a vacant or unoccupied, unused car sitting around? I just decide I'm going to take your car. This stuff is getting flat ridiculous on this stuff. And if people don't stop it or get into that. But Trump was in, about an hour ago, he had a rally in Toledo, Ohio on that. And this is why, like I say, Trump is the most entertaining president, bar none, of the 45 that we had. Number 45, that guy is something. Whether you love him or hate him, I mean, you've got to appreciate the entertainment value of Trump, because oh man, he's talking about Nancy Pelosi, and he said, yeah, and he was going into the impeachment stuff, and he started out with, brain dead Nancy Pelosi. She's not playing with a full deck. And I mean, I just busted up on that. Trump is the only president that can get away with saying like that stuff. But he's really right. I mean, it's like this California situation. I mean, the majority of us are brain dead. We've elected a supermajority in our legislatures, and a lot of liberal stuff in that. Look out here. We have went center, left, or way off the deep on all of our representatives, congressmen, stuff that used to be even, and I don't care which party they were in. They could be Democrats or Republicans, but most of them over the years, and we had a mixture of both, but most of them were pretty level-headed. Man, they tilted a little one way or the other, but that we didn't have these far-off left, or these communist socialist dictators, like you say, that are up there supporting that. And you know where a lot of this started? Like the deal in Oakland. This Moms for Housing, these two that decide to occupy this home. According to Sam Singer, which is representing Wedgwood, who actually owns the home, I heard him earlier today, if I heard it correctly, he said this is an offshoot of Acorn. Acorn is an organization that was started by Wade Rathke in Little Rock, Arkansas in the 70s. And guess who some of his partners in crime were? That little-known politician who just got elected Attorney General and Governor, and his wife, named Bill and Hillary Clinton. And there's a whole story, and we'll get into that later on that whole thing. But like I said before earlier in the cast, this will touch off to Wayne and probably Pop and a lot of the older listeners that went back to that was all in that stuff. And this is why the danger of this stuff, and this is why a majority of you should be paying attention, because after the fact is too late. You let them get away with this, and you're going to do it at your own peril, because they're going to come back and on this stuff, and you're gonna, you're the one that's ultimately going to pay on this stuff. I don't know. Do you want to live under a dictatorship king rule? That's what we're coming to. If the court rules that these people can just walk into a house no compensation, not paying rent, not paying for the house. They just decide we're going to walk in and occupy this home and it's ours. Well, if that happens, we might as well pack it in on top of the deal right now because we're done. I mean, you have no private property rights if that happens under that scenario, and we'll see how it works through the courts. On that, they're going to make a ruling on. Wedgwood's putting an eviction notice out on all this stuff, trying to get them out. So it's in the court system of that. But the courts have put an emergency stay order saying, oh, yeah, they get to stay in the house, yada, yada, yada. I mean, this should be like a 2-minute decision. Judge should say, what? You had no rental agreement. You did not buy this house. It is not yours. You have no rights to this. If you are not leaving that residence within 30 minutes, we will be sending out the crews to be packing up your stuff. And if you don't leave, we will send out the guys with the hog irons on their hip and badge on their chest, and they will be arresting you and taking you to jail. That's how you solve that situation. Should have been solved. You want to know why things are so screwy, expensive and stuff? Is because we put up with this. Bottom line is we, the people, keep putting up with this or tolerating this stuff. And again, I say it a lot. You get the kind of government that you elect. So we keep doing this. So it's a lot of the stuff you've got to pay attention on this whole thing. But again, it's and to go back to the part of the elections part. Doing that, and I want to cover this because there was another kerfuffle that the Obama administration did. It was called Fast and Furious. They decided they were going to supply guns to the Mexican cartels because they had this theory that they were going to trace it all, which was complete baloney. That's why you don't put people who don't know what they're doing in charge. You put people in who know what they're doing, like Trump, in charge, and voila, everything takes off. They set this down there, so. One of the guns, they're doing a thing on the border that these thugs are on there in the border. Well, they shoot, our Border Patrol are trying to come up with that. They shoot Brian Terry, who's a Border Patrol agent. They're out there doing that. They shoot him. One of the guns the Obama administration authorized and gave to them from us. Well, finally, another person yesterday got sentenced to life imprisonment over the murder of Border Patrol agent Brian Terry on that. But there's another. I mean, this is just another long line of examples of why it is very important to pay attention. And this is why, and I'm kind of segueing into this because it's going to be part of what I think Jason Hunter's going to be talking about, why you should be paying attention all across the board, not only nationally, but down to your local areas. Because we're about to get hosed again on another tax increase. And I'm saying odds on, unless people get their head out of their derriere like they do and quit passing all this stuff, just because they say it's for the kids now, which are like I say, kids are considered up to 37 years old now, I think, or some ridiculous number that are coming up on that. And it's for the children, and everybody, yes, and then our schools go downhill and all this stuff, and then, why is this happening? It's because you're being stupid. You don't solve things by just throwing money at them for no particular freaking reason. Like the whole homeless thing, $900,000. It's like they call it now the homeless industrial complex. Few people are getting really rich off this stuff that you guys are all paying for. And they're making the problem worse every day by stupid policies. You want to get affordable housing? Just like they're talking about for less affordable housing, they're talking about, you know what? Suspending CEQA, Quality Environmental Control Act. When they like say, well, it adds 2 years and a whole bunch of costs to the housing. Well, yeah, a lot of us have been screaming about that for freaking decades. And it's government policy that's done that. Repeal CEQA. Developers, show some freaking cojones and get out there, put an initiative on the ballot. You guys could fund that out of pocket change on that, get it out of the deal, and you can eliminate CEQA and actually peel back the regulations, and actually we could provide affordable housing like we used to do in California on that. So it's absolutely incredulous of what's going on all this stuff. But we're trying to dial up Jason Hunter on that to get him on the line to preview that on that, because that's what I say. It's another bite on the deal that's going to come on locally, and people keep people are not paying attention. It's like with the gas tax and all this other stuff that they say, oh, we're going to fix all your roads and all that stuff. Well, no. Like the operating engineers come on and said, oh, well, we were promised all these jobs and they're not going to fix our roads. And it's absolutely incredulous of what's going on in this stuff. But we're just about ready to get Jason Hunter queued up on here to give us the latest on what's going on in Riverside, that and how the latest little con job they did on the residents of Riverside, they're going to be paying for this, and about the newest con job that's going to be coming, unless you guys, all of you out there, get out there and fight this stuff. How the next little con job's going to be coming to Moreno Valley, Riverside, and Corona. Jason Hunter, welcome back to the show in 2020.
Hey, Happy New Year.
You got it. So give us a brief synopsis of what the little trick they played in Riverside and what's coming on. Now they're expanding it to Riverside, Moreno Valley, and Corona on this stuff, but let it rip, Jason.
Well, let's start off with a recap of Measure Z. Measure Z was the sales tax, a 1 cent additional sales tax passed in 2016 by the voters of Riverside, which was for, supposedly, vital services and public safety. And, of course, the first thing they did once they actually got the money in hand, because it was really just a regular general fund tax, was they spent the money on pension obligation bonds and building a new library. I don't know what that has to do with public safety and vital services, but so they collected about $50 million, and they've been spending it, and a lot of it on public safety and vital services, but a lot of it people would debate whether or not it's been spent correctly. But and now they've got a problem over at the city of Riverside where they've got a $17 million budget deficit for fiscal year 2021. And, of course, the bait was vital services and public safety, and now the switch is in. We're seeing 3 years after the measure is passed, there is now a plan in place that's being presented to the Budget Engagement Committee to take about $12 million of the money that was passed in the sales tax measure and divert it directly into the general fund to pay for, salary increases and pensions due to the partnership compensation model, which linked the passage of Measure Z to automatic increases in salary for our city employees. So it's all coming about here. And the things that are going to get cut once they divert the money are the new downtown police station. Well, that sounds like public safety, right? 22
exactly the opposite of what they said, right? We're going to do it. We're going to increase all the police force with this new tax. You're going to have more officers on the line. They're going to have new facilities. They were lying to you.
There's supposed to be a new downtown parking garage. That won't get built. But the municipal museum, which was closed a year and a half ago, that's not going to get reopened anytime soon. All of the Measure Z reserves that they haven't been spending on vital services and public safety, that will get diverted to the general fund. And all the current, this year's budget surplus will be directed to the general fund as well. So basically, when this thing was first passed, I said, this is really the public employee salary and pension and benefit tax. And now we're seeing that was true, right? Is that they tied the passage of the measure to increasing compensation. And then that, of course, caused the budget deficit. And now 3 years later, to close the budget deficit, they divert the funds from Measure Z back to the general fund to pay for these increases in salaries and pensions and benefits, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been a complete bait and switch.
Yes, and this just backs up what I've said. Jason Hunter's pointing it out, what's happening in Riverside. Susan Shelley and John Copello, Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, Dan Walters of Cal Matters, Richard Ryder of San Diego Tax Fires, and on, said, whenever you hear this tax increase, bonds, everything else, it's going to fund the what is sometimes I'm hearing up to $2 trillion overall state unfunded mandate all across California that's going on public employee pensions. And that's what the whole issue is. And when you hear about this new thing that's going to be coming up, and I don't remember if it's coming up on March or the November ballot, but I'm sure you know. But if the people of Riverside, Moreno Valley, Corona are not paying attention, they're about even to get hosed, probably even worse, and it's going to be all for the kids now, which I'm saying children now must be people up to about 37 years of age. But go ahead and tell us what's coming down the pike.
Well, first of all, it's not a fait accompli with Measure Z in Riverside now. If people get off their duffs and they go down to City Hall, or they phone, or they write letters to their city council people, there's still a chance to stop this from happening. So this is sort of a call out to the public that you need to get involved and you need to contact your elected representatives and say, no, Measure Z was to increase the quality of life for residents and was supposed to be spent on services, not on lavish, compensation packages. So it's not a done deal. So let's get over to the newest measure that's coming out, which is going to be called Measure A, and it is going to be on the ballot in March of this year. So just literally a few weeks away.
Yeah, about 6 weeks or 6 or 7 weeks away, we're going to be voting on this.
Yeah, it's RCCD, which is Riverside Community College District, is asking for $715 million in order to improve the infrastructure on its 3 campuses. Now, it's got campuses in Riverside, Moreno Valley, and Corona. And I don't think anyone's saying they don't have some legitimate needs for infrastructure, right? And I think that they serve a very legitimate purpose, and they do a lot of good for this community for educating affordably a lot of our residents here and getting them into, a lot of times, not always transfers to 4-year schools, but sometimes just getting them into vocational careers. So no one wants to knock, and certainly not me, our community college district itself. But let me talk a little bit about how the measure is actually written. So if you look at the propaganda for how Measure A is being sort of passed through the community, they talk about all these beautiful, just thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on these facilities master plans that went through all sorts of community vetting to come up with all these great projects that they're going to put on all these different campuses that are going to, create all this local economic activity. It's going to be great. It's going to, all this stuff for disabled people, modernizing it to be ADA compliant, all this stuff for veterans, all this stuff to put technology on the campuses, et cetera, et cetera. They talk in all the literature about all these great things, but when you actually get into the ballot measure and look for the specific details, how many of these things are actually guaranteed to be built? Well, first of all, there is no specific project list, so they don't tell you what they're actually going to be building, despite having these great master facilities plans. None of that is guaranteed to be built. They don't have to build any of it. And as far as all these great improvements for veterans and disabled folks, and they must have taken a poll and seen what would bring tear jerkers to people's eyes if they talk about. None of that is guaranteed. It is the ballot language itself, despite what anybody tells you in the propaganda they send out. This is for more or less a blank check to be given to the community college district, and they're basically saying, give us $715 million. Trust us. And it's not the $1,750 million. By the time this is paid off with interest, they estimate it will be somewhere around 2055, when many of us probably will not be on this planet any longer.
Right.
The total cost of this bond is probably going to be double that, around $1.4, $1.5 billion.
Yeah, well over $1 billion,
and
north
there's
of
no
$1 billion.
guarantee towards what anything will be built.
You've got it.
They could build whatever they wanted to, as long as it's legal for a community college district to build.
There you go, folks.
Really at the whims of those electeds on the board, and whoever they happen to be now, and whoever they happen to be in 10 years from now.
There you go, folks. You see a little bit of how you got hosed in Riverside. They're about to bring it to the rest of us on this, and I agree with Jason. If there was a legitimate need in the RCC district, as far as the education part has served us well. They have not served us well like most of our politicians in being good stewards of our money. We're gonna have to get you in studio here soon and you spend an hour and really break all this down. But thanks for the update today, and we'll be in touch sooner or later. And especially, I want to have you on at least once a week coming on in 2020. Thanks for being on, Jason Hunter.
All right, Roy. Take care.
You got it. So we're going to end this hour, and we're going to do this. We're going to do this every day. We're going to show you why you should, and the proper use of firearms, and why you can never predict the time you will need one. But when you need one, there is no other excuse in it. But to be any more graphic, it's a life or death situation. So again, I'm going to put out the warning in case you don't want to see. You're about to see somebody get shot in this video of that. So when you got it up and rolling, this is somebody who's coming in who is going to attempt to rob a pharmacy store coming up. So as you're seeing him come in the building, are you starting this about 20 seconds? Okay. So here's the first guy that comes in that is walking in. He's looking around. We're running it in slow motion in there so you can see actually how this whole thing transpires. He's coming in. See this guy coming in the window, through the the door of that. The previous gentleman's doing his transactions, probably getting his prescription. Keep your eye on this guy that's standing right in the middle of the screen. So as he walks over to that, watch him pull out of his pocket, and he is pointing a gun at the dude. Now here's the pharmacist standing in the back. He pulls out his what appears to be a .38. Blam! Hits the guy. Boom! He's getting up. The guy's coming back to shoot him. He shoots him again. Shoots him a third time as he's running away. Looks like a fourth one. And now he's walking down across the deal. Another deal where if that person would not have had a firearm with him, you don't know what these people are going to do. It's kind of like we were talking about yesterday with Stephanie and on the retaliation. When somebody makes that aggressive move, they pull a gun, a knife, or what? A rock, baseball bat. They threaten you, touch you, or throw a punch. You have every right, in my book. I'm not a lawyer, give legal advice, just in my world. And I think the Constitution on down backs me up on this. You have the natural right. Let's forget about that. You have the natural, God-given, whatever Mother Nature right to defend yourself against any predator that is threatening you, your family, or anyone else around. And as the Texas church shooting showed, this shooting, we're going to show this because you hear the propaganda coming out, like the house occupation, the propaganda all the time. Oh, why do you need firearms? Why do you need, you only need them for hunting. No. And the Second Amendment has nothing to do with hunting. They never mentioned it in the Federalist Papers, Constitution, Bill of Rights, anything. I want to show me in history when the Founding Fathers were talking about hunting, when they were talking about the establishment and the natural right to keep and bear arms. Because as Dave Chappelle said, comedian, the other day, all those First Amendment rights, free speech, right to redress your government, freedom of the press, all those little things, that Second Amendment is in there to back up those rights, to empower you. And as the old saying goes on the Colt 45, no matter what the size, I will equalize. And just as we've shown, and we're going to keep showing this every Monday through Friday, we're going to keep showing each and every day why that Second Amendment was written, why the Founding Fathers put it in, why so many of our military fought, bled, and died, and law enforcement officers for you to have that right. And it's Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, so give a wave, a hand up, shake, attaboy to a cop that you see driving on the day today, and each and every other day. It doesn't have to be today, but today is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. We want to say that out. So we'll be back here in 23 hours at 5 o'clock, kicking it off on that. For all that on Fun, Frivolous, Freaky Friday on that, where we'll kick it back. We'll still give you the news, but we'll kick it back, give you a lot of things that are going on fun in the area too. So, as we say on that each and every day when we come back, but we will see you in 23 hours.